Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are diving deep into Kubernetes storage, a crucial concept for stateful applications running on Kubernetes cluster. We will break down concepts like persistent volume claim, storage classes, and how storage options like EBS and EFS come into play. By the end of this video, you will have a clear understanding of how storage works in Kubernetes, how dynamic provisioning saves cost, and the different retention policies available. So let's get started. So now we will see what is storage in Kubernetes. So all applications need storage to store their data, and there are two types of storage. Ephemeral storage, which means where the data will be lost when pod restarts. So this is called a temporary storage. And the second is persistent storage like EBS, EFS, where data will persist even when pod restarts or your application crashes, but that storage will persist. And in this video, we will be focusing on the persistent storage only. So now concept of storage capacity. So like from where the storage comes from. So this is all from the cloud providers, like whichever provider you are using, like AWS, Azure. Kubernetes does not provide those storage, it just manages it. And the limit of that, it depends on your cloud provider. So as a normal user, you will never ever hit the limit. But yes, for the users who needs lot of storage, they might need to increase the limit of their AWS account to increase the limit. So that is like the storage capacity. If I need 50 GB of EBS volume, so that 50 GB of storage AWS is providing me. Okay, so now the next section is storage classes. So what are the storage classes are? Storage class is a Kubernetes cluster level abstraction that defines what type of storage is available to use. Like in example, in AWS, we have EBS. So this is one kind of a storage class. We have EFS. This is another kind of a storage class. So this is what a storage class is. And now who create those storage classes? So the cluster admin, the person who is creating the EKS cluster, they create these storage classes. And how do they create that? They use the add-ons. Now EKS cluster provides add-ons for EBS, add-ons for EFS. So they use those add-ons and install it on the EKS cluster. And as soon as they do that, it creates the storage class on your EKS cluster. So here you can see I have just taken the screenshot of kubectl get storage class. So this is one that is created by the add-ons, and it's all, you can see all the detail of this. So now whoever wants to use this particular storage class, they have to use the name which is called GP2. So if they use this name GP2, they should be able to use this storage class. And by default with the add-ons, the storage class that's created, it's not default. So you have to provide the name of the storage class. Now the next section. This is using add-ons, it is getting created the default one. But if you want to create more storage class into your EKS cluster, you can use this YAML configuration and create more storage class. So here you can see you are just providing the storage class, the name, and this is where the annotation. So you can add the annotation that this is the default class. And if you put this annotation, then in the next section, we will see how we'll consume these storage classes. Then they don't need to specify the storage class name, and they should be able to just use the default one because this is default. And you provide all the other details here. And the reclaim policy delete, it means when everything is deleted, your EBS volumes, whatever the volumes created, it will also get deleted. We'll see all those things in more detail, but this is what storage classes are. So what they do, storage classes don't create any volume on their own. They just define the options for you, like the options available for the users. Now users request storage to actually create the EBS volume. So now the next section is PVS, which is persistent volume claims. So this is now in your EKS cluster, you have storage classes available to use, but now somebody has to request it. So that is request for storage. So that PVC object a user will request. So developer will check what all storage class options are available, because he has to provide the class name and then provides that I need 10 GB of storage. So something like this would be his request. So here you are creating a Kubernetes object which is PVC, providing the name, access mode you are providing, and then you are requesting I need 1 GB, and there at the end you are providing a storage class name. You can change it based on your storage class name, and if there is a default and if you don't provide this particular option, and if the default storage class is available on your EKS cluster, this will work. So this is what persistent volume claim is. So what is PVC? Simple definition, it is a request for the storage. Now comes persistent volume. So persistent volume, it is the actual storage allocated by the cluster. Now it could be EBS volumes, EFS, anything, but this is the actual storage. So when that PVC request matches an available storage class, Kubernetes automatically creates a PV and binds it to the PVC. So that is what the concept of static and dynamic. So in this whole video, we are focusing on storage class. So PV is getting created dynamically using storage class based on the request created by PVC. Sometimes, or if you are not using storage class, then you can create these PVs in advance like a static, and then people can use it. Now here you have an option of retain and delete that I showed you in that storage class name. So if it is retain, then your persistent volume, your actual EBS volume, EFS volumes will retain. But if you want to use them again to reclaim them, there is some manual steps that you have to do. But if you have delete, then this PV will delete it when that PVC is deleted. So this is the concept of persistent volume. So this is the final architecture of storage looks like. Storage capacity outside of the EKS cluster, it's simple, your cloud provider things. EKS cluster, now the storage class comes here, and then you have this persistent volume claims using a storage class name. They check it and request it, and then this is the persistent volume that it gets created dynamically and bound to PVC. So this is how the Kubernetes storage work. Now we will see a demo of an Nginx application which uses a storage. So we will see how does that work. Okay, so now we will explore creating these objects on the EKS cluster. So the prerequisite for that, you have an EKS cluster running and you have that add-on installed successfully on your EKS cluster. And if you are following my video, then in the Terraform code, I have this section which is taking care of installing this add-on and ensuring that IAM role and all the policies are attached properly so that everything work. So make sure that you have everything configured before you try this step. So now first we will create this PVC object. Okay, so let me just go to my terminal and now I will just do kubectl apply -f and this is PVC. So here you can see that it gets created and now we will see get PVC and here you see the status is pending, right? And why is it? Just do that kubectl describe pod describe PVC and the name is Nginx PVC. So here you can see wait for first consumer, persistent volume waiting for the first consumer to be created before binding, because we have not created any resource yet who will consume this PVC, right? That's the reason you are seeing this. And just wanted to tell you one more thing. If something is not something is not working related to the PVC and all those things, always check this describe command and check the logs here. You will find the errors if because of any reason it is not working. So now what we will do, we will just deploy it. So here you can see that I have this Nginx pod. I'm just deploying a pod, not deployment and replica set. No, nothing like that. Very simple, just pod. And here I have a container Nginx and this is where you are doing the volume mount. So here you are providing the path which you wanted to mount and you just provided the name. The name, because here you are creating the volume and this is the name, and persistent volume claim name. So referencing the PVC that you have created earlier. So this is how you do the configuration to consume that PVC. Okay, so now let's just go there and run this command kubectl apply -f deploy. So it has created the pod. And now let's just do describe PVC. Here you can see provisioning succeeded, everything looks good, right? And now if I do get PVC, so here you can see now you are seeing bound. It got bound. Instead of pending, you see bound. And this is the PVC object. And you can see this PVC bound. And now we will see kubectl because I told you that it creates the persistent volume in an automated way, right? So here you can see that it has created the persistent volume and all the policies like the reclaim, it all comes from the storage class. So everything looks good. It worked fine. And now I can show you on the AWS console how does it look like. Okay, so here you will go to EC2. There is a section called Elastic Block Store and then volume. So here you can see that it has created this volume as requested, right? So it works fine. And now just to show you, if I delete this PVC, so let me just delete this kubectl. First delete the pod because it is using that. So kubectl delete pod nginx -pod. And now we will delete kubectl delete PVC and PVC. So now we have deleted this. So now if you have deleted this, then this should also get deleted. Yes, it got deleted. And these are Kubernetes objects. Suppose if I don't delete all those things from here and I just deleted the EKS cluster, these things will still exist because these are outside of EKS cluster. So make sure that you delete it manually. Otherwise, they will just stay there if you don't delete it. Okay, so now I wanted to show you something will will not work, right? So let me just put it here like reclaim name which does not exist, right? Or maybe we have just deleted this PVC, so we'll just try to deploy this and see what happened. So if you go this kubectl apply -f deploy.yaml, you see it has created the pod, right? And if I do kubectl get pods, you will see that it's gone in pending, correct? And now to see what is happening, what will you do? So let's just do the kubectl describe pod nginx-pod. So here you will see that failed scheduling, nginx PVC not found. So you make sure that you provide that also.